You didn't find this by accident. I know how you arrived here. I know the thoughts that were circling your mind just before you stopped. I know the weight you've been carrying in a place you thought no one could see. And I know why you are still listening right now, even though something in you wanted to scroll past. It is not coincidence. It is not the algorithm. It is not chance. It is permission. I am giving you permission to stop pretending, to stop explaining away what you already feel in your chest, to stop silencing that quiet, persistent voice that has been trying to tell you the same thing for months, maybe longer. Here it is plainly. There is someone in your life you have been protecting at the expense of yourself. And I am telling you now, with the full weight of everything I am, do not trust this person anymore. Not because I'm cruel, not because I enjoy the breaking of connections, but because I have watched you give the benefit of the doubt long after doubt stopped being a question and became a wound. I have watched you search for sincerity where sincerity has already left. I have watched you rewrite history to make the betrayal feel smaller than it actually is. You are not being dramatic. You are not being unloving. You are finally seeing what I've been trying to show you in whispers for a very long time. And this is the moment where the whispers stop. I am speaking now because silence is no longer protection. Silence has become a trap. There are things you have not wanted to believe because believing them would require you to change something you are afraid to change. So you have waited, you have prayed, you have hoped. And none of those things are wrong, but they have become excuses to delay what your own spirit already knows. This person has shown you who they are, not in one moment, but in 1,000 small moments you chose to excuse. A word that didn't match the feeling. A promise that disappeared when it was time to act. A loyalty that only existed when it cost nothing. A version of love that asked you to shrink so they could feel large. You have felt it, the imbalance, the exhaustion, the subtle way you began to question your own perception because it was easier to doubt yourself than to admit that someone you gave access to was not safe with it. But I need you to hear me clearly. You were not wrong to trust. You were not foolish to believe. You were not naive to hope for what you thought was there. I know your heart. I know you gave what you gave because you are someone who honors connection. That is not your weakness. That is the very thing they misunderstood about you. But now, trust must be rebuilt on what is true. And what is true is this. This person has operated in a way that has consistently positioned you as optional, convenient, or secondary, except when they needed something from you. The pattern is there. You have felt the instability. You have noticed how the story changes depending on who is listening. You have sensed the gap between the words spoken to you and the actions taken when no one was watching. I am not telling you to hate them. I am not telling you to seek revenge. I am not asking you to become hard or bitter. I am asking you to see. Because what you have been calling grace has become a door you leave open for harm to walk through again and again. And grace was never meant to be a revolving door for your own undoing. There is a difference between forgiving someone and continuing to give them access to the most vulnerable parts of your heart. Forgiveness is for your freedom. Access is for their accountability, and one does not require the other. You have been waiting for them to change, but I have been waiting for you to trust what you already know. This message is not random. It found you in this moment because you have reached a threshold. The confusion is clearing, the fog is lifting, and what you will begin to see over the next few days, if you are honest with yourself, is that the signs were never absent. They were simply ignored because acknowledging them would have meant making a decision you weren't ready to make. I am not rushing you, but I am no longer going to let you hide in the delay. This person's presence in your life has come with a cost you were never meant to pay. The anxiety, the second-guessing, the way you've learned to say less, to be smaller, to apologize for needs that are completely normal, the way you've started to believe that maybe you expect too much when all you've ever expected was honesty. That cost is not love. Love does not demand that you disappear. So here is what I am doing in this moment. I am pulling back the veil. I am letting you see the full picture, not to hurt you, but to set you free. Because truth, when it is fully seen, does not destroy. It repositions, it clarifies, it gives you the one thing confusion steals from you: certainty. You needed certainty, and I am giving it to you now, not in a loud voice, not in a burning bush, but in the quiet, settled knowing that is rising in your chest as you read these words. That knowing is not paranoia. That knowing is not resentment. That knowing is discernment, and I have been cultivating it in you for a season you didn't understand. You kept asking for clarity, but clarity was never going to come while you kept pretending the evidence didn't exist. I am not asking you to understand everything tonight. I am not asking you to have all the answers or a perfect plan. I am asking you to stop ignoring what you already know. There is a reason you paused on this message. There is a reason it felt louder than the others. There is a reason your heart began to beat differently as you read. Because this is not a video to you. This is a conversation I have been trying to have with you for months. And now, right now, the silence is breaking. Stay with me, because what I need to show you next, you will not want to see. But you need to see it, and for the first time, you are finally ready. You have been asking me why I let you go through it, why I allowed you to see things that confused you, why I permitted the relationship to continue when I could have ended it sooner, why I didn't shout louder when the warning signs first appeared. You have wondered, in your quietest moments, if I was even listening at all, or worse, if I simply didn't care. I understand that question. I do not condemn you for asking it. But now, I need you to understand something that has been hidden from you until this moment. The silence was not absence. The delay was not neglect. And the fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still seeking, still here, is proof that I was working in ways you could not perceive. You wanted me to remove this person from your life, and I could have. I could have ripped them out of your story with a single motion, leaving nothing but the sound of a door slamming shut. But you would not have been ready, and you would have spent years wondering if you made a mistake, if I made a mistake, if the love you thought you had was stolen too soon. So instead, I did something harder. I let them reveal themselves. I let you see, in real time and in your own experience, what your heart needed to learn. I gave you the evidence, not all at once, but in pieces you could absorb. Because truth told too quickly can feel like an attack. Truth discovered slowly becomes unshakable. You needed to discover this, not just be told it. There is a difference between being rescued and becoming someone who no longer needs rescuing from the same thing twice. I was not absent. I was letting you develop the discernment that would protect you for the rest of your life, not just in this situation, but in every situation that follows. You kept asking for a sign, but signs were everywhere. They just weren't the signs you wanted. When they said they valued you, but their calendar never had space, that was a sign. When they only reached out when they needed something, that was a sign. When you felt emptier after being with them than before, that was a sign. When you started making excuses for behavior you would never accept from anyone else, that was the loudest sign of all. But you were not ready to read them, because reading them would have required you to accept something that felt like a failure. You thought if the relationship ended, it meant you had failed. You thought if you walked away, it meant you hadn't loved enough. You thought if you admitted they were not safe, you would have to admit you had been wrong to trust them in the first place. Let me free you from that weight. You were not wrong to trust. You were trusting the version of them that you believed was there. And the fact that version did not exist is not a failure of your love. It is a failure of their character. But you could not see that then. You would not have believed it if I had shouted it from the heavens, because you needed to see the pattern with your own eyes. You needed to feel the exhaustion of giving without receiving. You needed to experience the moment when hope finally became heavier than honesty. That moment has arrived. You have reached the place where you no longer need me to tell you what to do. You know, in your bones, in your gut, in the deep place where your spirit lives, you already know what you must do. The only thing left is to stop pretending you don't. This is why I waited. But because I was building something in you that no one can take away, I was building your ability to trust yourself again, to hear your own voice above the noise of guilt and obligation and fear, to recognize that your peace is not negotiable, to understand that love does not require you to endure what diminishes you. You kept asking me to fix them, and I was never going to do that. Not because I cannot, but because their soul is not your responsibility. You are never meant to be their savior. You were never meant to sacrifice your own clarity so they could remain comfortable. You were never meant to carry what they refused to carry themselves. That was never love. That was a contract you signed without knowing the terms. And now I am releasing you from it. But releasing you does not mean I am leaving you alone. No, I am about to show you something that will change how you see everything that happened. The pain was not pointless. The confusion was not wasted. And the person you have been afraid to stop trusting, I am going to show you why your spirit has been uneasy. Because there are layers to what has been happening that you have not yet understood. There are motivations you have not wanted to name. There are patterns that go deeper than personality differences or misunderstandings. This has never been about simple incompatibility. There has been a posture in this person toward you that you have sensed but refused to label. And in the next part, I am going to name it clearly, not to make you angry, but to make you free. Anger would keep you bound to them. Clarity will set you loose. You have been wondering why your trust feels broken even when you try to restore it. You have been confused about why the cycle keeps repeating, no matter how many chances you give. You have been exhausted by the emotional whiplash of closeness followed by distance, warmth followed by cold, promises followed by silence. There is a reason for that. And it is not because you are too sensitive. It is not because you expect too much. It is because you have been dealing with something that was never operating in good faith. I am not saying this to wound you. I am saying this because you deserve to know what you have actually been surviving, not just what you thought you were navigating. The silence is over. The fog is clearing. And what you will see next will finally explain why nothing you tried ever seemed to work for long. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You have simply been fighting a battle with one hand tied behind your back because you kept believing their version of reality instead of trusting what your own spirit was telling you. No more. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal will answer the question you have been too afraid to ask out loud. I need you to hear something now that will feel heavy. But heaviness, when it is truth, is not meant to crush you. It is meant to ground you. To plant your feet on something real after years of standing on shifting sand. Here is what you have been sensing, but have not allowed yourself to name. This person has not simply been unreliable. They have been operating from a posture that is not safe for you. And I am not speaking about physical safety alone, though that matters. I am speaking about the safety of your soul, the safety of your mind, the safety of your sense of reality. You have been in a dynamic where your perception has been quietly undermined, where your feelings have been treated as problems to be managed rather than truths to be honored, where your memory of events has been rewritten just enough to make you question whether you experienced what you actually experienced. This is not carelessness. And I am naming it now because you have been carrying the weight of confusion as if it belonged to you, as if your inability to make sense of the relationship was a failure on your part to understand, to forgive, to be patient enough. But confusion was never your fault. Confusion was the tool. When someone cannot be straightforward with you, confusion becomes the environment they need to survive. If you are always questioning yourself, you never settle firmly on the truth. And if you never settle on the truth, you never make the decision that would end their access to you. I have watched you live in that fog for too long. You would have a moment of clarity, a moment where you saw things exactly as they were, and you would feel the strength to act. And then, within hours or days, the fog would roll back in. A kind word, a familiar gesture, a small moment that reminded you of why you loved them in the first place. And the clarity would slip away again, replaced by hope that maybe this time would be different. This is not how love operates. Love does not need confusion to survive. Love walks in the light because it has nothing to hide. But what you have been dealing with requires shadows. It requires you to be just disoriented enough to stay. It requires you to question your own judgment so that theirs remains the louder voice in the room. I am not saying they planned this in some calculated villainous way. Most people who operate this way do not fully understand what they are doing, but that does not make the impact less real. A weapon does not need to understand physics to cause damage, and a person does not need to be a master manipulator to leave you fractured. The question is not whether they meant it. The question is whether your spirit has been bearing the cost of their dysfunction, and it has, heavily. You have felt it in your body, the tension that lives in your shoulders, the stomach that clenches when their name appears on your phone, the exhaustion that settles over you after you spend time with them, an exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical activity and everything to do with the energy it takes to pretend everything is fine when it is not. You have felt it in your mind, the overthinking, the replaying of conversations, the searching for the exact right words that would finally make them understand, the late nights spent trying to figure out if you are the problem, because if you are the problem, at least you can fix it. You have felt it in your spirit, the quiet erosion of your joy, the way you have stopped expecting things to be good, the small death that happens each time you lower your expectations just to avoid being disappointed again. This is not what I designed connection to do to you. I created connection to be a place of rest, a harbor, a mirror that reflects my love back to you through the safety of another human. I did not create connection to be a battlefield where you must fight for basic dignity. I did not create connection to be a classroom where you must learn to tolerate what diminishes you. And yet, you have been living in a war zone dressed as a relationship. You have been trying to love someone into wholeness while they have been comfortable with your fragmentation. You have been offering grace while they have been consuming your peace. You have been hoping for reciprocity while they have been building a life that requires you to be half empty. I am not saying they are evil. I am saying they are not safe for you. And there is a difference you must learn. Not everyone who hurts you is evil, but not everyone who loves you is safe. Safety is not measured by intention alone. Safety is measured by what happens to your soul in their presence. Does your spirit expand or contract when you are with them? Do you feel more yourself or less? Do you leave feeling filled or depleted? Do you find your trust in yourself strengthening or weakening? You already know the answers to these questions. You have always known. But you have been taught, by them, by your own fears, by a version of love that was never true, that asking these questions makes you demanding, that protecting your peace makes you selfish, that walking away makes you the one who gave up. Let me correct that now. Asking what happens to your soul in someone's presence is not selfish. It is stewardship. Protecting the life I placed within you is not rigid. It is wisdom. Walking away from what has been eroding you is not giving up. It is finally choosing to live. You have given more chances than were ever owed. You have extended more patience than was ever returned. You have held hope longer than the evidence could justify. And you have done all of that because you are someone who loves deeply, even when the vessel you poured that love into had cracks at the bottom. But now, the cracks have become canyons, and what you are pouring in is not being held. It is being lost, and you are being emptied. I am not asking you to stop loving. I am asking you to stop giving your love to someone who has shown you over and over that your love alone cannot fix what is broken in them. That was never your job. That was never your calling. And the fact that you tried for so long is not something to be ashamed of. It is something that shows the depth of your heart. But depth without wisdom becomes a place where you drown. So now I am handing you wisdom, not harshness, not bitterness, not coldness. Wisdom that looks like this. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself from them. You can love someone and still walk away from them. You can pray for someone and still refuse to give them access to you. These are not contradictions. These are the boundaries of a soul that has learned to value what I value: your peace, your clarity, your ability to live in truth without fear. In the next part, I am going to show you something you have been missing, something about the timing, something about why this is happening now and not earlier. Something that will help you understand that this ending is not a punishment. It is a repositioning. But for now, sit with what I have told you. Do you recognize the pattern? Do you see the fog for what it is? You needed to exhaust your ability to pretend. You needed to come to the place where you had tried everything, every approach, every compromise, every act of patience, and finally stand in the ashes of what did not work. Because only from that place would you truly receive what I am about to give you. If I had spoken this truth earlier, you might have received it as an accusation. You might have defended them. You might have turned your frustration toward me instead of seeing what needed to be seen. You were not ready to hear what you could not yet bear to know. But now you are ready. Not because the truth is easier, but because you have become someone who can hold it without it destroying you. That is what the waiting was for. Not to punish you, not to waste your time, but to strengthen the vessel that would one day carry this truth without shattering. You have asked me for years to make you stronger, and I have been doing it, not by removing every hard thing, but by walking with you through hard things until you learned that you could survive them. This relationship, as painful as it has been part of that training. Not because I wanted you to suffer, but because I needed you to learn something you could not learn any other way. You needed to learn what happens when you give trust to someone who does not protect it. You needed to learn that love without discernment becomes a prison. You needed to learn that your boundaries are not walls. They are the gates to your own soul, and only those who honor you deserve the key. You needed to learn that your peace is not something you negotiate away for the sake of keeping someone comfortable. And you needed to learn that walking away from what is breaking you is not weakness. It is the strongest thing you have ever done. These lessons could not be taught in a classroom. They could not be learned from a sermon or a book or a conversation with a friend. They had to be lived, and you have lived them. Every painful, confusing, exhausting moment has been writing something into you that no one can erase. Now, do you see why I did not intervene sooner? If I had removed this person the first time you asked, you would have learned nothing. You would have simply moved on to another version of the same pattern, because the pattern was still inside you. The pattern of giving your heart to people who do not know what to do with it. The pattern of abandoning yourself in order to be loved. The pattern of hoping that if you just try hard enough, you can earn the safety you are always meant to have freely. I did not want you to keep repeating that pattern for the rest of your life. So I let this situation stay long enough to teach you what you could not learn from a quick exit. I let it stay until the pattern became undeniable, until you could not ignore it anymore, until the cost of staying finally outweighed the fear of leaving. That is not cruelty. That is the fierce mercy of a God who loves you too much to let you waste your life on what cannot hold you. You have been asking me to change your situation, and I have been changing you. Because a changed situation without a changed you is only a temporary solution. You would have left this person, celebrated your freedom, and eventually found yourself in the same dynamic with someone else. Because the real issue was never just them. The real issue was the part of you that believed you had to earn love, the part of you that was willing to shrink, the part of you that accepted treatment you would never want for your closest friend. That part of you is dying now, and the death is painful, but it is necessary. Something new is being born in its place, a version of you that trusts your own voice. A version of you that does not need permission to protect your peace. A version of you that can love without losing yourself. A version of you that sees clearly, acts decisively, and walks in the freedom of knowing that you are worthy of safety. Not because you earned it, but because I placed my image in you. This is why the timing is now. Not because the pain was meaningless, but because the purpose is finally ready to emerge. You are not the same person who entered this relationship, and you would not have become who you are becoming without having walked through what you have walked through. I know you wish there had been an easier way. I know you wish the lessons could have come wrapped in something gentler. But you are a deep soul. And deep souls often require deep forging. The hammer does not apologize to the metal. It shapes it. And I have been shaping you, not breaking you. Every blow of confusion, every strike of disappointment, every pressure of hoping and waiting and hoping again, it has all been forming something in you that is going to carry you into a season you cannot yet imagine. But to enter that season, you must finish this one. You must close the door that has been left ajar. You must stop looking back at what has already been revealed. You must trust that the same hand that let you go through this will guide you out of it. In the next part, I am going to show you what is waiting on the other side of this decision. Not because you need a reward to do what is right, but because you need to see that what I am calling you out of is small compared to what I am calling you into. You have been surviving in a room that is too small for your spirit, and the door has been opened for longer than you know. It is time to walk through. You are closer than you realize, closer to the other side of this than you have ever been. But I need to tell you something about the final steps of a journey that has cost you so much. The last few steps often feel the heaviest, not because the weight is greater, but because you are finally aware of how much you have been carrying. And awareness, while it sets you free, first reveals the full extent of what you have been bearing. Do not mistake that heaviness for a sign that you are going the wrong way. The heaviness is the feeling of truth settling into places that have been hollow for too long. The heaviness is the gravity of reality finally pulling you down to solid ground after years of floating in confusion. The heaviness is not your enemy. It is the sensation of your feet touching earth for the first time in a very long time. You have been asking me what comes next, what life looks like after you finally do what your spirit has been urging you to do. And I want to show you, because you need to see that the ending you are facing is not an ending at all. And on the other side of that door is something you have been praying for without knowing how to name it. But first, I need to address the fear that is rising in you as you read these words. You are afraid that if you walk away, you will be alone. You are afraid that you will regret it. You are afraid that you are wrong to trust your own perception. You are afraid that maybe they will change after you leave and you will have missed it. You are afraid that the loneliness waiting for you will be worse than the exhaustion of staying. I know these fears. I have heard every one of them in the quiet of your heart. And I am not dismissing them. They are real. They are human. They are the fears of someone who has been taught, by this person, by past wounds, by a culture that prizes endurance over wholeness, that leaving is failure. But let me tell you what is actually on the other side of this decision. On the other side of this decision is peace you have forgotten exists. The kind of peace that settles into your body when you are no longer waiting for the next painful interaction. The kind of peace that lets you sleep through the night because your nervous system is no longer on alert. The kind of peace that feels almost unfamiliar at first, so much so that you may find yourself checking for the anxiety you used to carry, surprised to find it gone. On the other side of this decision is clarity. The fog that has been your constant companion will lift, and you will begin to see things with a sharpness that amazes you. You will look back at moments that confused you and suddenly understand them completely. You will see the manipulation for what it was. You will see the patterns with devastating clarity. And in that clarity, you will find something you have not had in years: certainty. The certainty that you were never the problem. The certainty that you were not asking for too much. The certainty that your instincts were right all along. On the other side of this decision is energy you have been leaking for years. Energy that went into managing their emotions. Energy that went into walking on eggshells. Energy that went into explaining yourself, defending yourself, shrinking yourself. That energy is going to return to you, and you are going to feel something you may not have felt in a very long time: aliveness. The kind of aliveness that comes when your life force is no longer being siphoned by someone who cannot generate their own. On the other side of this decision is space. Space for what you were always meant to become. Space for relationships that do not require you to abandon yourself. Space for the dreams you stopped dreaming because you were too exhausted to hold them. Space for me to move in ways I could not move while you were tethered to what was pulling you backward. You have been asking me to bless what you are in, and I have been waiting for you to leave so I could bless what you are becoming. There are things I have for you that you cannot receive while you are still attached to what has been draining you. There are doors I want to open that are blocked by the very presence of what you have been unwilling to release. There are people I want to bring to you, people who will love you without condition, who will honor your heart, who will reflect my love back to you in ways that heal rather than wound. But those people cannot find you while you are still tangled in what is not for you. I am not punishing you by withholding these things. I am protecting them until you are free enough to receive them. And freedom is closer than you think. But here is what you must understand. The decision itself, the moment of actually doing what you know you need to do, will not feel the way you expect it to feel. It may not feel triumphant. It may not feel like victory. It may feel like grief. And that is okay. That is honest. You are not walking away from a stranger. You are walking away from someone you loved, someone you invested in, someone you built hopes around. Even if that love was not returned the way it should have been, even if those hopes were built on shifting ground, the loss is still real. I am not asking you to pretend it does not hurt. I am asking you to let the hurt be the bridge to your freedom, rather than the chain that keeps you bound. Grief is not the enemy of obedience. Grief is the proof that you loved, and love that is not returned does not become a mistake. It becomes a testimony that you are capable of giving deeply, a testimony that your heart is not the problem, a testimony that you loved faithfully, even when fidelity was not reciprocated. Let yourself grieve, but do not let your grief talk you into staying. Grief will try to tell you that maybe you were too harsh, that maybe you should give one more chance, that maybe the good moments outweigh the bad. Grief will try to rewrite history to make the loss feel less devastating. But you and I both know, because you have lived it, that the good moments were real, but they were never enough to compensate for the damage done in the others. And a relationship that requires you to accept damage in exchange for intermittent kindness is not a relationship. It is a transaction you were never meant to sign. You have done enough. You have given enough. You have waited enough. You have hoped enough. You have prayed enough. You have sacrificed enough. And now, it is time to let what you have given be enough. You do not owe them any more of yourself. You do not owe them another conversation, another explanation, another chance to convince you that your reality is wrong. You owe them nothing, but you owe yourself the truth. And the truth is this: you were not created to live half a life. You were not created to survive on crumbs of affection. You were not created to question your own worth because someone else could not see it. You were created for fullness, for safety, for love that does not require you to disappear. That fullness is waiting for you, and it has been waiting longer than you know. In the final part, I am going to give you the strength to take the step you have been standing at the edge of for so long. not by pushing you, but by showing you who you are becoming on the other side. You are not losing something. You are being rescued from something that was never going to become what you hoped it would be. And the rescue is almost complete. This is the moment you have been walking toward, not just through these words, but through months, perhaps years, of quiet endurance, through moments when you told yourself to hold on just a little longer, through the ache of giving love to someone who could not return it, through the slow, painful process of watching hope die and then watching it rise again, only to die once more. Through all of it, you have been walking toward this moment. And now you are here. You are standing at the threshold of something you have been afraid to name, afraid to reach for, afraid to believe you deserve. But I have been preparing you for this threshold since before you knew it existed. Every disappointment was a lesson in what you should not accept. Every moment of confusion was a stripping away of illusion. Every tear you cried in the dark was watering something in you that is about to bloom. I need you to hear me clearly now, without any filter, without any softening, without any room for doubt. It is safe to let go. You have been holding on to something that has been holding you back. And the strength you think you need to release it, that strength is already in you. I placed it there through every moment you thought you were being broken. You are forged, and what has been forged cannot be shattered by the act of finally choosing yourself. You are not abandoning anyone. You are not being selfish. You are not failing at love. You are choosing to stop failing yourself. And that choice, that singular, terrifying, beautiful choice, is going to unlock something in your life that you have been praying for without knowing how to ask. I want to show you what is on the other side of this decision, not to tempt you with reward, but to help you see that what you are leaving is not the only thing you could have. It is simply the only thing you have been willing to accept. On the other side of this decision is your own voice. You have spent so long listening to someone else's version of reality that you have forgotten the sound of your own knowing. That voice is coming back. It is rising from the place in you where I have always been speaking, waiting for you to stop drowning it out with doubt and fear and the desperate hope that they would finally hear you. You will begin to trust yourself again. You will make decisions without second-guessing. You will know, in your gut, what is for you and what is not. And you will stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand. On the other side of this decision is your peace, not the temporary peace of avoiding conflict, not the fragile peace of keeping everyone happy, but the deep, unshakable peace of knowing that you are no longer participating in your own diminishment, the peace of waking up without dread, the peace of checking your phone without anxiety, the peace of walking through your day without the weight of someone else's instability pressing on your chest. That peace is not a distant dream. It is waiting for you the moment you close the door that has been left open too long. On the other side of this decision is your purpose. You have been living smaller than I created you to live, not because you lack ability, but because you have been pouring your energy into something that could never become what you hoped. The energy you have spent managing, hoping, enduring, That energy is about to be redirected into what you were actually born for. The dreams you put on hold, the gifts you stopped developing, the call you stopped hearing because the noise of this situation was too loud. All of it is waiting for you. And when you step into it, you will understand why this ending was necessary. You will look back and see that the door had to close so you could finally walk through the one that was always meant for you. On the other side of this decision is love. Real love. The kind that does not require you to earn it. The kind that does not disappear when you set a boundary. The kind that does not punish you for having needs. I am not telling you when or how this love will come, but I am telling you that it cannot find you while you are still giving your heart to someone who does not know what to do with it. You have been planting seeds in soil that will not let them grow, and I am about to lead you to ground that has been prepared for everything you are meant to become. But you have to walk. You have to make the decision. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when you have one more conversation that finally makes them understand. You have to make the decision now, in your heart, in your spirit, in the place where truth lives. And then you have to let your body follow what your soul already knows. I know you are afraid. I know there is a part of you whispering that you should wait a little longer, see if things change, give it one more chance. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is fear wearing the mask of patience. You have been patient long enough to prove that patience was never the issue. The issue is that you have been patient with someone who has been comfortable with your discomfort. And that ends now. I am not asking you to be perfect in how you leave. You may stumble over your words. You may cry when you meant to be strong. You may feel the pull to go back in the days that follow. None of that will change what I am doing in you. None of that will undo the work that has been accomplished in this season. I am not looking for a flawless exit. I am looking for a willing heart, and you have given me that. So here is what I want you to do. Breathe. Right now, wherever you are, take a breath and let it out slowly. Feel the weight of what you have been carrying. And then, in the quiet of your own heart, say these words to me, not because they are magic, but because they are true. I release what has not been safe for me. I trust what I have seen. I choose the freedom that has been waiting for me. And I walk away not in anger, but in the certainty that I was made for more than this. Say it, mean it, and then begin to act as if it is already done, because it is. The decision has already been made in the realm of your spirit. What remains is the physical outworking of what has already been settled. You do not need to figure out every detail. You do not need to have the perfect plan. You only need to take the next step, the smallest step, in the direction of your freedom, and I will meet you there. This is not the end of your story. This is the end of a chapter that was never meant to be the whole book. And the next chapter, the one you thought you had lost, is already being written. Not by you alone, but by us, together, as it always should have been. You are not walking away into emptiness. You are walking into a room I have been preparing for you. A room where you can breathe. A room where you can become. A room where love will find you, not as a battle, but as a home. Do not look back with guilt. Do not second-guess what your spirit has finally, clearly seen. Do not let the silence that follows this decision convince you that you made a mistake. The silence is not abandonment. The silence is the space where new things grow. You are going to be okay. More than okay. You are going to be free. And freedom, after so long in chains, will feel like the deepest love you have ever known. Go now, not with fear, but with the quiet certainty that you have heard what you needed to hear, and that I, the one who knew you before you knew yourself, have been walking with you through every step of this and will not stop now. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and you are finally ready to live like it. If this message found you, it found you for a reason. Do not let it pass without acting on what you now know. Your freedom is waiting, but only you can choose to walk into it. And when you do, you will find that I have been waiting there all along.